Ahoy Rovers! Well, in the last episode you saw me put the plating on the hull. Now it's been dry fitted and it's looking pretty good. It's a pretty exciting time really here in the boat shed. So in this episode it's all about gluing it permanently against itself. It's a big job, it's a lot of glue lines. We're going to tackle that. We're also going to try to tackle putting the transom in place. That'll be pretty exciting. When that happens, the whole hull is pretty much complete from the plywood perspective. But before I can really put that transom on, I have to ensure that the strong back has been fully prepared, because once I get the transom on, there's no getting back inside the hull to undo anything on the strong back. We have to be 100% certain we're ready to roll this boat over. Anyway, a lot to do. Time to crack on. The rest of those screws off and then lay it down.
Do I need to sort of put a hand on it or pop off?
Yeah, right in the center. Okay. Pull it, yeah, go on down to the end. About a third, that's it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, watch the yourself in the camera.
Yep.
Nope, the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We're gluing that whole stem.
Yep. Yeah, over there. So Brian, Glenda, could you just stay on the bow? Brian, if you go here, you don't have to touch that glue. 99% of this is glue-free. Okay, Glenda, you help us decide where to go. Come towards me, towards the front.
There you
Is
go.
it? Okay, up there.
A bit further, I'd say. Oh, wait, I can see it here. Back toward me. Okay, that's good. We should be pretty close to being on. I'll get a screw in there and it'll tell us.
Yeah, our line's pretty good here.
Okay, that one was on. Okay. Okay, we're good. Well, we had a great day yesterday. It was really productive. We got the glue joint done at the top, and I'll tell you, I was exhausted. When my head hit the pillow last night, I was out. I was down for the count. Anyway, let me show you what it looks like and what we have planned for today. So the glue joint is up here, but it's still a little soft in places, and that has to do with the temperature. We're right now probably only 10 degrees Celsius,
and that's not quite enough for this stuff to kick off. So we're going to have to hope for a little bit of warmer weather. And I'm happy with that glue joint up there, but today we're going to be working on this glue joint. And I've already started working on it. As you can see with this little bit of copper, it's sort of a hybrid of a stitch and glue, and that's just to pull the plywood in where we need it pulled in or pushed out. I still have to do this one. I'll show you how I do that. This bottom piece needs to come out just a little bit. It's in between the frames. There's a frame there, there's a frame here. They're both fair, and just needs to come out maybe 1/8 of an inch or a couple of millimeters. There's another one where I've put a little bit of wire on. That's no problem. One of the other issues we're going to be dealing with today has to do with this joint right here. So we want this space, about 1/8 of an inch minimum, in there so that we can fill it with glue. If we can't fill it with glue, we can't bond these two pieces together. But you see, this is pretty tight. I just made it a little too tight. So I'll run the saw across there. Over on this side, that's pretty good. That's the minimum space I want. But there is a spot just over here where it's a little tight. Again, I'll have to run the saw. This piece of ply is actually leaning against this piece. All right, so I'm going to make a little cut just along here, just to open this joint out a little bit more. Hearing protection on. Well, that's good. Now we're going to be able to squeeze a little more glue in there. I stopped before I got to the frame, and the reason for that is because we've taped over the frames so we don't end up gluing ourselves to it. And but it's wide enough there just. So here's a good example of where the ply isn't meeting clearly. I just ran the saw over there because it was hung up on itself. So now just with a little bit of pressure, I can press that in. So I'll drill a couple of holes, put a bit of copper wire through there, twist it up, maybe a second one. Yeah, one here, and then we'll end up with a nice fair curve. All right, time to crack on with that. So just going to drill a couple of little holes. Get another set here. All right. So we can see now I fed the copper wire through, and the lower hull there, it's sticking out about 1/4 of an inch, but I can press that in. So I'm just going to do that, press it in, and at the same time, it's really just that easy. I've got another one over here. Same thing. If Mrs. Rover wasn't holding the camera, she would probably be pushing that in, but I think we managed it anyway. Okay, so that has solved that issue. We'll now fill that, and then we'll radius it after the epoxy is hardened. Excellent. So it's a little cool. We're at 10 degrees, so what is that? Just a little over 50 Fahrenheit. It's too cool for the epoxy, but we're going to start a fire in the furnace, and we'll get the place heated up. Yesterday, the glue joint turned out it's nice and hard, but it didn't penetrate all the way through, and we have some spots that we're going to have to fix up. In addition, today we're going to glue on the inside of this hull because it only, the glue penetrated, it's hard to see, but probably only 2/3 of the way into the joint. So we'll get the final third from the inside, and it shouldn't be too difficult because we can press up against this glue joint already, so we don't have to worry about tape and glue coming out this joint. It's hard enough that I can undo the copper and then we can fill in these little gaps as well. It's not bad. It's not a bad job at all. Yeah, we still have to, at some point, grind this smooth, and then we have to put a layer of biaxial fiberglass over top. There's a fair bit that still needs to be done. All the holes need to be filled. When I started thinking about the project, I realized that we're not going to be able to do much more in this video other than fix this joint, because originally I thought I'd be putting this transom on, but that'll have to be in the next video. We're going to take you inside the boat if I can rig up some light, and we'll take a look at the joint. You can kind of see it here just with the light coming through. So in this case, yeah, we're right to the inside with the glue. That's great, but not in all places. So we're going to just put a quick little fillet alongside the inside here. So we can remove these. The glue is hard enough. So I'll just clip these off. And then we'll just pull it through from the inside. Good. Well, like I said, we're going to get a fire going to warm the place up, but I don't think it's supposed to look like this. Okay, here we go. We're at frame 3 right now, and if you remember, frame 3 was one of those where we had to do a correction. We had to add 1.5 inches to the frame, and that meant that the bottom wasn't actually wide enough. It was about 7/8 of an inch shy on the bottom and about 3/4 of an inch shy at the top. Not for very long, only for about 9 or 10 inches, and it tapered off then. So I created this little dam, and now I'm going to remove that and just see what it looks like. I had filled it with a combination of wood, flour, and microfibers. Anyway, let's take a look. Wow, that is really nice. Wow, it just totally formed in line with the ply. That was an excellent fix. And if you could just take a look at this, this is just a piece of ply. I had scarfed the shape of the hull along this edge, and then we covered it in packing tape so it wouldn't stick. So now I'll just get a really nice close-up of this joint. There we go. And it goes over this side. You may not see it as well because we're in the dark, but overall a very nice fix. And on the top side, it just gets plain smooth. All right, now the other reason we're in here is because now we're going to fill this joint. Remember I said we're only about 2/3 filled. In some cases we're 100%, but in other cases we're about 2/3. I just want to get that while I can. Also, where I had the copper wire, we left that blank, and now we're going to fill that. So that's all we're going to try to accomplish today. Also, we're looking forward right now, and if you remember all the stuff that I was talking about a few videos ago about the stem support, it's all gone. I dismantled that just a few minutes ago, and I'll be dismantling more of this inner frame here. Not all of it, of course. We need to keep the frames themselves and put a little bit of support, and I'll be going over that in the next video. So, right. Anyway, the epoxy, we're waiting for it to heat up, and when we get it to about 20 degrees, that's when we'll mix it and we'll start putting it into this joint. Okay, so we're just going to wet out the surface. This is where one of those copper wires was. Mostly we don't have to worry too much about wetting it out, and I'm going to start putting the epoxy in. So can you just zoom in on what I'm doing here, Glenda, with the bag? So I've got this little baggie. I'm just going to clip it, very small, and then squeezes right in. Okay, that's great. Well, I'd like to take a moment to honor 4 new names to our Benefactors bulkhead, and they are Tobias Holwart, Letizia Binda Partinsky, Lisa Uesato, Mansour Nojumi. Now, these folks have made a contribution of $100 US or more, and their names will be written on a bulkhead inside Wave Rover and will travel with me on our circumnavigation. Now, these funds, well and truly, are much appreciated, so thank you. Well, Rovers, we had a pretty good week. We didn't accomplish anywhere near what I thought we would, but that's because, you know, I always set these really ambitious schedules. You know, I sort of say, well, if you reach for the stars, at least you won't end up with just a handful of mud, even though you don't accomplish what you thought you'd set out to be. I will leave you with that, but until next week, thanks for watching. Give us one more.